Hello everyone, Luxury Leaks here. Since people are still waiting for a new episode on Life of Luxury and/or Luxury Dark, I'll continue doing the analysis videos on the older videos. So that being said, today, we'll be analyzing It Waits Until You Fall Asleep. We'll be also discovering the situation and what was the reasons for the victims' deaths. But before I start the video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss out any news on Life of Luxury or Luxury Dark, such as analysis, leaks, theories, etc. Anyways, here we go. As you can see, there seemed to be a stalker and they've been staying outside of Olivia's house. Olivia said that she feels unsafe because she currently lives alone. The reason she was alone is because all of her roommates recently went missing. Olivia also says that often when she looks outside at night, she sees a creepy-looking old lady in the woods, who keeps asking to come inside. Here is proof of that the stalker who stays in the woods and tries to get inside of the house. Once Parker and Chester arrived, while they're walking to the house, suddenly he heard laughter. Chester looked to his left and saw there was a girl watching behind the trees. Parker turns and told to come on, and Chester said, "What was she doing there?" And Parker said he didn't know, and they gotta go knock. So they left again and went to the door. Once they made it to the door, Parker knocked and then the door opened. It appeared to be not Olivia, and it was a guy instead. Parker asked if Olivia was home. Then the guy said he's Olivia and said that he catfished them. Parker asked again and the guy said the same answer. Parker asked if it was a trick and the guy said no and said there was an actual stalker. Parker and Chester was convinced but not sure and went inside anyway. Once they sat down, Parker and Chester finally learned the guy's name, and it was Chad. Parker asked why he catfished him and Chester. Then Chad said he catfished because he watched their videos and said they only go to girls' houses. Parker and Chester were confused and a little puzzled and didn't know what he meant by that. Chad said when being serious, he needed their help because the old lady was stalking him and wouldn't leave him alone. Parker asked him how would he expect them to take him seriously when he lied about his identity. Then Chad joked about how would any girl who looked really attractive would meet up guys like Parker and or Chester. Then Parker warned that him and Chester will leave if Chad isn't going to be respectful towards them. Then Chad stopped Parker from standing up and said he really needed their help from the stalker that was coming to the house, and he thinks she's trying to get in. Then Parker asked for the appearance, then Chad said she looked like she was in an accident, and he didn't know if she was a crazy lady or something else. Then Parker said he's gonna set up cameras, and that being said, both Parker and Chester stood up and went set up cameras. After they talked, Chester went off to check if the girl was still there. So he went to the window and moved the curtain and see the girl standing behind the trees again. Chester said hello, and the girl waved. Chester asked if she could hear him. There was no response from her, and Chester asked if she need help. Again, no response again. But suddenly, the forest creature appeared behind her, and Chester said, "What is that?" Then it grabbed the girl and pulled her to the woods, while Chester said, "Watch out," 2 times. But it was too late. Chester ran and shouted out Parker's name, and he told Parker that he saw the girl and got pulled into the woods, and said he thinks there's something bad out there. Then Parker said him and Chester are trying to focus on what's going on inside the house, and it wasn't a woods video, and said he already set cameras and go over to Chad's room and then head to bed. So they went off to the room. Once they made it to the door, Parker knocked and said Chad's name to see if he was there. Then Chad, behind the door, jokingly told them to get out. Both of Parker and Chester were confused and Chad opened the door. He was joking and he allowed them to come in. Then they went in and setting up the camera. Then Chad jokingly said they would both probably would like if they saw Chad change. Parker told Chad that they finished set up all the cameras and told they'll watch the footage in the morning and see if the old lady comes back. Chad warningly jokingly told Parker that he would not watch the footage in Chad's room because he might have someone over. Parker said that he's gotta be joking, and Chad asked if they're jealous that they don't get any girls, and said he saw Parker and Chester sharing the bed, and Chester was surprised from what Chad just said. Parker said he doesn't want to cause any problems and explained again. But Chad didn't listen and suddenly got a phone call and answered and talked to his friends instead of listening. Parker got a little frustrated and left the room. Once they left, Chester asked Parker if he was alright. Parker explained about Chad that he did nothing but disrespecting him and Chester and said he wasn't taking the situation seriously. Parker said it was a big joke to Chad and he begun to think that Chad wasn't in danger. Right after he said that, suddenly, back in Chad's room, the window glass broke and the forest creature's arm came in to kill Chad, so Chad begun to scream. Parker heard that and thought that Chad was smashing stuff in there and screaming. Then Parker went back to confront him. When Parker opened the door, Parker confronted Chad by saying that he had enough with his behavior and said he had no respect for him and Chester, and Parker was disgusted from the words that Chad used to refer to a woman. Parker thought he was afraid to talk, but he was wrong because Chad was already dead and he was hanged there. Parker told Chad to stay silent and called him a coward, and then he left off to their own room. Meanwhile Chester, he went off to check the window again. When Chester went back to the same window from before, he moved the curtain and looked out again, seeing to be nobody was there. Chester thought she was gone, but he was wrong because he suddenly heard a voice that said, "Hey." Chester got startled and looked and see that there was the old lady who was by the window. Chester asked who she was. Then she pleaded to let her inside and help her. Chester asked what's wrong with her and she said it did it to her and it took her daughter. She was basically saying that the forest creature must have did something to her and mentioned that the forest creature took the girl from earlier out in the woods. Chester called for Parker, but the old lady began to scream and hit against the window, trying to break in. Chester ran off to the room. Once Chester ran back in, he said that he saw the old lady and explained he saw her by the window and how she wanted him to let her in. Parker asked if he did let her in. Chester said he didn't and she looked messed up and thought she came from the woods. Parker asked why Chester is keeping on bringing about the woods, and Chester answered that he think there's something dangerous out there and said him and Parker had to leave now. Parker said he didn't care about the woods and he didn't know why Chester's telling him that and said he had a long day dealing with Chad and hoped he wasn't too hard on him. Chester said it didn't matter, repeated that he saw the stalker and thought the girl was the stalker's daughter. Parker didn't even listen on what he said and said Chester was right and he had to be hard on him because he was being disrespectful. He imagined that Chad is super embarrassed, but he was wrong because he remained hanging there, dead. Parker told Chester that they needed to get sleep and deal with Chad in the morning. So, they went to sleep. Now since the night begun, it seemed normal, except for Chad, who had been killed and had been hanging there on the wall. After an hour later, the old lady returned and somehow opened the window and came inside. Once she stood up, she went to the hallway, going to one of the rooms. Several minutes later, she made it to one of the rooms, appearing to be Parker and Chester's room. While she's in, there was suddenly groaning noises at the window, and it appeared to be the forest creature who got in also. It began to extend its arms throughout the halls, trying to find the old lady. Once it made it to her, it suddenly grabbed her and dragged her away, making her scream while Parker and Chester was oblivious to the scream. Now at 3:04 a.m., the room was different, now having the door open, and there was the forest creature's arm, who has been sitting there while its hand was under the blanket. Chester suddenly then woke up because he felt something. Chester then thought it was Parker and told him that he didn't want it to play footsie. Parker was confused when he woke up. Chester looked under the blankets and see something was touching his foot. Chester was confused on what he saw. It appeared to be fingers moving around in there, and it suddenly grabbed Chester's leg and dragged him to the halls. Chester screamed for help and Parker instantly got up and went to the halls, seeing the forest creature, holding him and swinging him around. Parker pulled him out from the trap and then both of them ran. Parker pushed a bookcase and blocked the hallway, preventing the forest creature to go further in to grab one of them or both. Once Parker and Chester ran out, Chester asked what was that thing and Parker think it took Olivia, and Chester told him that Olivia was not real and said they had to go back home, and Parker said it was a good idea and thought that she sent an email. Chester was confused on what he said and went off back to home, ending the episode. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy this video. More analysis videos on the older episodes are coming soon while we are waiting for the new episode. But before I go, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on any future videos about news on life of luxury or luxury dark, such as news, analysis, leaks, theories, etc. I'll be going now. See you in my next video. Luxury leaks out.